Welcome everyone, this is the PMP podcast from Digital22, episode 3 now, and we've still not been cancelled, which is both a surprise and good news. I'm Chris, I'm the lead PPC marketer at Digital22, and I've got with me my colleague Christian.
Hi guys, I'm Christian, I'm the PPC specialist, I support Chris here at Digital22.
And today's episode is all about the dark arts. What does a PPC manager do? Now, if you ask SEO, they'll say nothing. And if you ask some clients, they'd probably agree with that. Yeah. I mean, I don't think a lot of people do.
Not a lot of people
so
don't.
It's just running through what we do, how we do it, and why we do it, pretty much. And then just like at the end, we'll go through a bit of a daily, what you do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So we've been through some stuff. So we've got the topics are research, which is probably the biggest one.
Yeah,
I say research. Then you go about conversion actions and setup, campaign setup, and then things like optimization and a day in the life of. So for me, like when you start with the keyword research, that's probably one of the best bits when it comes to building out a new campaign.
Of course.
I know it can be quite laborious and it takes a while, but once you've had that chat with the client and you've had a few calls with them and you get to know more about their business, because I always explain to the client that when they come on board with Digital22, they've extended the marketing team. Like we treat their budget like our own. So you've got to feel like you've got that understanding of what they do, who they are as a company, as a brand, and then you've got to really nail that messaging in everything. So whether it comes, the showing for the right keywords, getting the ads on point and everything like that. But yeah, that's just for me where it starts with the research.
Yeah, no, I think everything you said was bang on. I think, especially combining it with the competitor research to actually thoroughly understand what they're searching, because we've worked with clients before where they might say one thing to search for or another, but whether the data actually backs up that, it's very difficult to actually run with that sort of concept. So this is where this sort of phase, I think it's good to help us get everything we need from our side, but more importantly, it shows it to the client so they know what they're working with as well.
I mean, that's as well. I mean, competitor analysis, that's a really difficult one to get right, because they'll give us a list of competitors and we'll use everything they can. So we'll use SEMrush, we'll use Ahrefs, we'll use SpyFu, we'll use Google Keyword Planner.
And they're all slightly different. And
they're all, none of them give you the same figures ever. But it's like how accurate can it be?
Yeah.
How accurate can SEMrush be when it comes... Now, I know they use algorithms and you've got all this thing behind it and it's really intelligent. They've got years of research and industry experience and it is a great tool. So before anyone says that I hate SEMrush, I don't. I do hate getting kicked out of it when I'm in the middle of keyword research. So if anyone else logs in, stop doing that. But it's a brilliant tool, but I just don't understand... Like it can say like we've done it before, like for accounts that we're managing, and you'll put our domain in, and it says they're spending 10 grand a month. Yeah, can I assure you we're not?
No, for sure. And also it can overpredict the average CPC sometimes as well. So,
and then a client will look at that. So if you've got a client that's a bit switched on and they'll look at that, they'll come back to you, SEM says this. It's like, yeah, but I'm in your campaign, give you all the data, you run it, it's your account, we just run it, you've got all the access to that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I like SpyFu as well, because it's really visual in the premium account, that's really good. Ahrefs I've not really used that much, but again, it is a good tool when I have used it. But even like Google Keyword Planner now, that's ridiculous for what it does now, because it used to give you the search volumes for all the keywords, and now it says, it's between 10 and 400, and it's like, well,
a bit of a big split.
What is it? Is it 2 or is it 399? There's a bit of a difference.
It is.
No, I agree. And this is for another podcast altogether. But yesterday, Google released that they are stopping doing expanded text ads by June 22. So you'll only be able to create or edit responsive search ads. But that's the next episode. So if you hate responsive search ads and you need to get used to them, then join me for that. Yeah, because that'll be a long one, so you might need to get a couple of coffees lined up. But yeah, so just like explain about how you go about doing keyword research. So we've got a new client on board and they sell... they are a bathroom designer and they're looking for more people who are looking for an online design consultation.
Yeah, so if it was me, I'd approach it in a way of first, if they had an actual account built and already running, you'd obviously use the information that they've got, because that's the most valuable, because that's obviously tailored to their company. So first I'd go through that and obviously look at the CTRs, the conversion rates, the impression shares, and see if you can get more out of that. But on top of that, I'd be using Google Keyword Planner always, but I always combine it with a SEMrush or a SpyFu or a Ahrefs, and I think that gets you to a position where you've pretty much got the full spread of keywords, and then you can start including it at that point. I think just by combining them, it works well. I don't think by using one, it's not enough. I think you need to use more, and then just your own intuition after that bit to actually match up where they're actual, and the more relevant ones, the phrase match, the broad match, and then obviously it goes down to your campaign structure after that. But that's typically how I'd approach it.
Right, good shout. So then we'll go into the next one. We'll do conversions after this. We'll go into the campaign structure and the campaign setup. So, like, the majority of times you can tell when a client set the campaign up themselves because they get things like geo-targeting wrong.
Yeah.
Like targeting people in or interested in, which is Google's way of just fleecing you for more cash.
Yeah.
You should always be looking at people in or regularly in your target location. That's it. If you want to target an area, you want to target an area. You don't want to target people who are interested in the UK. Yeah, you know, you just want to. So that's a lot of the time where people get caught out, and Google will never tell you that because it's just a way to get more money out of you. But then, so you've got the campaign set up. So now Google are really big now on things like audience demographics. I've used it before when I was working for a car leasing client. Like we excluded everyone from, I think it was 65 plus, because they were never going to lease a car in our mind. You know, we looked at our audience data and everything like that. We had very few, so we excluded those. We excluded those who, I think it was 18 to 25, just because the amount of rejected finance claims we had for those. So we just rejected those, and we saw our costs come down, but our conversion stayed the same. Yes. You know, if you've got things like, I mean, we're doing a lot of work for clients at the moment who are, you know, focusing on digital training. So, you know, we're looking at, you know, things like who are people who work at very large employers and stuff. You've got all this different kind of audience targeting that you can use on Google Ads, as well as audience demographics. And you can use all these in Microsoft Ads as well, you know, because they are pretty much the same tool. So if you're using any of those, but then you've got things like ad extensions, site links. You need to make sure that you build it. So when you go through, you get all your settings right, you get them done, then you build out your campaign. For the next 6 months, I imagine you'll still be able to put expanded text ads in.
Just slowly.
And then, but you've got to do about, I think it's 5 clicks to put them in. But put a responsive search ad in, see how it goes, pin your headline to the top, and then try and play around with the other headlines in the description. Just see what you get.
With the fact that you can pin them, I think they are giving you some sort of flexibility. So obviously our biggest issue as well, why I like expanded search ads, is because I like to make sure my headlines are in the order that I want them to be. So, because it just makes sense.
You're telling a story, aren't you?
Exactly.
It sounds strange when you. I mean, we've got content writers out there who are brilliant with words. The word nerds, they are absolutely brilliant with words. But writing a Google text ad, it is a skill in itself, because you've got 90 characters to do 3 headlines at 30 characters a piece. So you've got to get in your offer, why, and your call to action. Not necessarily, your offer should always be the top one, or the keyword, to keep your ad relevance really high. Then you need a call to action in the second headline, because it rarely shows the third.
Yeah.
And then you need to get in your description line 1, you need to get what we're offering. And then in description line 2, it's why and your call to action.
Yeah.
And then you've got your site links. So, but I mean, if we were to get our content team to write Google Ads, they'd struggle, because you know, they are really the most articulate people you'll ever meet. And then when it comes to putting it down, they write really great, engaging content, which a Google ad doesn't need to be. No, it needs to be, this is what you search for. This is why you should use us. Us. It is the simplicity of it is like where it's, you know, the beauty is in it, because you don't overcomplicate it. So you just got to try and keep it as simple as possible with that. So that's a part of like being a PPC manager, is the ad testing.
Of course.
You know, I mean, that's part that people forget as well, because they think, you know, I'm just going to put some keywords in on a broad, I'm going to send them to my own page and I'll just put an ad up, and then I'll come back to it in 6 months and see how much money I've made.
And leave the setting on auto optimize so you think that you don't have to do anything, but in reality you're not really doing much experimenting at that point if the brand new ads. So
and then Google will put some auto suggested ads in for you as well. Exactly. They're always nice if you don't turn that setting off.
So it's more of a hands-on sort of thing in terms of you make sure it's on rotate and then use your own now. So it's as easy, not as easy as that, but that's one of the main bits that we'll do in terms of the ad copy and A/B testing as far as paid search is concerned. Yeah, it's
that testing. Like, so if you create like 3 ads at the start, so you could do a responsive search ad, put one in because it's good to have in, and then do 2 or 3 text ads, and then set them on rotate evenly. So Google will tell you not to do that, but if you want to get a good idea of what's working and what's not working,
always do it to begin with. Yeah.
So you've got to rotate it, let them show the ones, even if it says, that ad's not working, just let it show, because it will work. We've done the research, we've spoken to the client, we know about the branding, the company messaging, everything like that. They've approved the ads. So then after three weeks, we'll look at that 3-week performance of the ads and we'll say, right, this one's not working. So we'll pull that one out and we'll look at what works on those other 2, and then we'll put a new ad in there, and then we'll come back to that in like 3 or 4 weeks and just use the champion system. So we champion the best ad, take what's the best from that, and then put that into the new one.
Tweak it slightly.
Same with things like, you've even got CTAs on landing pages. So for us, like I mention it every podcast, being 100% HubSpot, the fact that you can clone the best performing landing page and then just make it no follow and use it for PPC makes it so much easier. And especially when, like us, we build up a bank of, we've got like CTA templates and everything like that we can use, we can drag and drop, so it makes it really easy for us to create an engaging landing page.
And you get all the metrics of the page afterwards as
exactly,
well. So.
Yeah, and you can create A/B testing in HubSpot as well and make it even easier. There's no, when it comes to things like that, that's why we get the results that we do, to be fair, because of the solutions partner that we've got in like HubSpot, and we couple that up with all the other stuff like SEM, Ahrefs, GTM. But I think that I did it before when I was working with a client, and I just swapped. We were doing a guide. It was a white paper, and we had download, and we just swapped it to learn more.
And it has a massive impact.
Yeah, we did it before when we did Facebook. That's for a different one, but we swapped it to learn more, it's just the tiny little things that you don't think of if you're doing it yourself because you don't have time.
No, of course.
So if you're a business owner or a marketing manager and you've got 1,000 other things going on during the day, you don't have time to worry about CTR's dropped 5%. If it's dropped 5%, there's something bad happened.
There's something going
but you don't have time to look at it. Why has my impression share dropped like 30% week on week? I can see you don't have time to look through your search query report. There's all those little things that, as a marketing manager or a business owner, you wouldn't do.
You just want to get it on and let it go, and it's just
that's the worst thing you could do. That's worse than not having it on.
Yeah, to begin with.
It really
is.
is.
You know what you're doing with your money.
So then, probably after that, I'd say then maybe the most important thing after you've done the research, which is hugely important, and then you've spent the time setting up the campaign. Now, some people say they can set up a campaign in an hour, which is true. You can. It won't be set up very well.
No.
But you'll have done it in an hour. You're probably looking at about half a day setting it up, I'd say.
Yeah, of course.
Just doing it properly
with it and make sure everything's how you want it.
Exactly, yeah. That's when that's when a PPC manager gets their geek on, when they're setting up an account, because they'll be there. I put my headphones in, and I just start going through. You almost do it on autopilot because you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So you're going through all the settings, everything like that. They've given us access to the account, and we're building it up. We're tagging it all up D22, so we know it's us. We go through all the settings, the campaign structure, keyword ad groups that you're using, putting all your negatives in, everything like that. You've got your ads, you've got your extensions, you've got your landing pages, everything's set up in HubSpot, and then it's the conversion tracking.
Yeah, which is very important because you need to know what you're doing. It's especially natively, obviously with HubSpot, it's brilliant because it'll track everything for us in terms of where the contribution is coming, but you can't pull that data into your Google ads or your Microsoft ads, so unless you're going to flick back and forth, you need to make sure they're set up in your Google Ads as well, which obviously then it's going to give you more information. Therefore, the optimization of the count becomes a lot easier at that point. And I've seen a lot of people which don't even set up the basic sort of tracking and just let it run, and then they're wondering why it's not worked. So they think, but they just can't see it.
Yeah.
But that's a hard sell to someone who doesn't fathom the sort of how it all works or stuff like that. So the conversion setup it's obviously a must before you get going, but it's just very, very vital, because if that's not done correctly, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. You can go off a click, you can go off a page view, you can go off an event, but
so for me, sorry to
no,
so for me, right. if you're doing a thank you page, so if you're an e-com and you've got a conversion, then you want it on your thank you page. Mm-hmm. So now you could do it natively off the page load. You can do it in analytics and have that pull through to Google Ads, or you can use GTM. Mm-hmm. So I've always done them back in the day. All right. Back in the day, you'll do it natively, a page load. It'll be digital22.com/thank you. Mm-hmm. So that'll be it. Once that page loads, attribute it to PPC.
Yep.
That's done. And then you can use GTM now for things like, how far they've gone down the page, all that kind of stuff, and make sure that we use that as the one universal system. I know you geek out about GTM, so this is where I'll let you jump in and get your absolute nerd on.
That's it, my nerd on. With the GTM, it's just, especially we work with a lot of B2B clients, and then there's not always one forum on the site. There's like 4 or 5 different forums, and obviously it's good to know all of the conversions coming in, but it's more important to know which specific forum is contributing the most, because if you're sending them to a landing page which for you think it's doing just as well, but you're getting a lower CPA in a different forum, then that's where you want to be twisting it to. And this is where the conversion actions come even more important for B2B, because it's important you know these differences, because one forum might be doing so well, and then in terms of the business side of things, why is that forum doing well? How can you use the learnings from that to improve your other forums and stuff like that? So this is where it gets more granular, and that's what GTM's allowed us to do, in my opinion. I think it's just a very powerful tool, and more importantly for B2B, because like you said, e-commerce, as long as you got the thank you and you know the value and the product name, you don't really need to know much more than that in terms of well, obviously you got your add to cart and stuff like that, but they're normally picked up anyway. But yeah, that would be GTM all the way, nerding done.
For me, with the granularity, I think that the granularity gives you control.
Exactly.
So the more control you've got, and you can know exactly which conversions coming in, where they've been. That's what I like with HubSpot, really. So we'll go in and we'll see that Jonathan became a contact. He looked at 16 pages. He's give us this page. He's had a look at this, and then he filled in this form, and we got these details from him. And you don't really get that with anything else that I've used in the past.
Touch points, isn't it?
And seeing what kind of forms they filled in and everything like that. I just think once you've got all that data, then you can see which workflow to put them in.
100%.
They're not responding to this workflow, so we can change it to this workflow, which is either a bit more formal, informal, and then work it that way.
It makes you so much more effective as a marketeer in general, and then just across the board, not even specifically PPC, just knowing that information is so powerful. So, yeah.
Yep, so then a day in the life of a PPC manager. So just go through roughly on a day-to-day what you do. So not when you just come back in from having a week off, because you've got like 500 emails to go through.
Havoc.
Yeah. So say on a standard Monday, just go through your day-to-day on a Monday.
Yeah, so for me, when I get to a Monday, it's more about setting up your week and understanding what's happened from the last week. So the first bit would be the reporting on the last week, and compare it on the week before and the week before that as well, and just get a good baseline into what leads, what's changed in the CPA or the ROAS if you're doing e-com. Check on what your tests have been from the week before, so I'll make note of whether I may be testing a specific ad, or I may be testing, I don't know what it might be, or done landing page, bid adjustments, and for me it's a time to just check through all that, see what's done, and that helps you sort of plan out what your next steps are for the rest of the week. After that, I'd typically look at the budgets after that and make sure if there's any overspend, underspend, normally, typically we run from our budget's from the first to the end of the month. So obviously then you divide whatever you've got left by the days remaining, and that'll give you what your daily budget is then. But that's something that you'd be checking on it every day, in my opinion. Hence why it's the day in the life of the PPC manager. But after that bit, then it'd be going into the optimizations and checking what else we can be doing. Is there more information from the client that they want to send our way? New graphics for display maybe, like we did this morning, for example. Any sort of HubSpot consultant information from their side or the strategist, and obviously we book in planning hubs. It's how we work on a 3-month basis. So for example, this month we've got some more graphics coming through someone else, so that'll be something that I'll be looking in. So it's just pulling all together everything that's scheduled in full stop from our projects team. But more importantly, on a Monday, it's a case of understanding what's happened previously for the last couple of weeks and whether that's worked, and if it has worked, make sure you maintain that, and if not, improve it. And if it hasn't worked, make sure you're being proactive about it, and make sure you can spot it before it's at the point where you're like, oh, well...
It's an issue.
Exactly. You need to be always on it.
Proactive. Yeah, that's the thing.
That's it.
I mean, just always looking at it. Now, mention reporting there. So for me, I really like... I mean, if you're doing inbound, you're doing blogs, you're doing email, or even SEO, I mean, it's really hard to report on SEO weekly. Mm-hmm. Whereas with PPC, you have to report on it weekly because it's expensive, you know. Especially if you're doing LinkedIn, for example, it's the most expensive platform there is. But for Google Ads, so you will do an agreed for... If you had that rumbling, I think that's Jonathan off camera.
He's a bit peckish.
He's really hungry at the minute. So if you're doing PPC and then you need to do your weekly report, most people still like the report in Excel, or we use Google Sheets because it's live, they can see it, they can comment in it. But I think that obviously with us being the Vidyard partner and just doing the video where you run through the HubSpot portal and explain everything, you know, there's a story behind everything as to why we've done it. You know, it's not just that we looked at it and we increased the cost per click. So we looked at it and we didn't think it was getting, for what we understand it to be, that keyword, it wasn't getting enough visibility, so we increased the cost per click, and that increased the CTR, the clicks went up, the landing page worked better, our impression share went up, and we got more conversions through it. But you can't explain that in a Google Sheet report.
No, just by putting a few numbers. Now that's where the video for us, it's massive, isn't it? It does, and it's so clients are so happy with it in terms of them just being able to see our explanation from it, because we can get a bit too nerdy sometimes in terms of like CPC, CPO, these sort of little words.
Acronyms.
Acronyms, that's the one. And it's better to be able to explain it to them and how they want it. And obviously the closer you get with a client, the more unique a video it'll become. And it's good to couple it with the data that you're sending over full stop. It's just beneficial.
Yeah, I think the clients appreciate it. It's almost like it's the personal touch as well, because like I mentioned earlier on, we are an extension of their marketing team. Like we're working with a client now who had a really small marketing team, and I think now that they're working with us, they've like trebled the size of the marketing team because they're working with an agency. So, you know, because we are part of their company, we should feel comfortable sending a video explaining the results. And it's not just explaining it when things have gone well. You know, there'll be sometimes you'll do a test and it won't work because it's a test.
Exactly.
You know, but it's owning that and saying, you know, well, I've used my experience to say that this was a good suggestion to try.
Yeah.
With any test, I thought it was going to work better than it has, but over the test period it hasn't. So I've stopped that, pulled it back, and we're going to try this, try that. If you're doing ads and you're not trying anything, then you're standing still, and everyone else is moving. Everyone else is moving ahead of you, and it's so competitive now on Google Ads because everybody thinks that they can do it.
Yeah.
Like Dave, who is the plumber down the road, his mate said to him that he can do Google Ads. And they were in the pub on Friday night and they spoke about how to do it. And so Dave's now telling other people how to do it because they were speaking about it. And someone said, well, you know, I've done it before. You just put your keywords in, send it to your own page, you're laughing.
Yeah, it's not.
And then before you know it, you're 500 quid in. Exactly. And you've got absolutely nothing to show for it. And like we said on the other one, like some clients, their budget's £500. Some clients, their budget's £25,000, but I guarantee that the £500 is watching every penny more than the 25 grand. Yeah. So if you've got 500 grand as your budget for the month and it spends it in 10 days, then you've not got any work in. You've not got any budget left.
Yeah.
So what do? Do you hire someone to do it for you? Do you go to an agency to do it for you, or do you just keep putting £500 a time in?
Hope for the better. Most often they're not with them £500. They've not got the conversion tracking set up.
So they've not got anything set up, and then they struggle going to an agency because the agency fees over what they're spending. So then they'll go and speak to Dave in the pub again, and he's going to tell them how to do it wrong.
It's a horrible cycle. But the bonus of video on a Monday is that you get to see our little faces in the
corner of the screen.
The corner straight away.
We don't edit them as nicely as Jonathan does.
No,
we don't get to put a filter on or anything.
Nothing like that after a long weekend.
Yeah, we don't do the videos after a bank holiday. No one needs to see that.
No, it's too early.
We just take the face out the corner. But no, they're good though, because you can see how much of the video that clients have watched as well.
It's
so I mean,
helpful for us, isn't it?
Yeah, it's helpful for us because it helps you become better on video. It helps you get more comfortable talking, because I mean, talking on camera can be weird when you're hearing your own voice back and you're seeing yourself in the bottom corner as well. Like
that's a big thing for me, and I can imagine if you watch the first one of this one compared to now, I'm not saying it'll be an unbelievable improvement, but you can definitely see the improvement, because stuff like this
it's an absolutely polished production. I don't know what about.
Well, I'm speaking purely of myself. I'm not a polished production, but yeah, no, for me, for example, it's it is a lot and it takes a lot, but the key is just get yourself in there and do it, because you did well. Mark did that video course, didn't he? What was it? Video transformation course that he did, and that's a very useful course in just listening to yourself. Like you said, there's nothing worse, and especially with my accent. Anyway, it's no one wants to listen to this. But
see, my accent isn't that bad because I worked in telesales from when I was like 18. So because I was speaking to people from all over the country, kind of thing.
Yeah,
then I kind of
adjusted
it, but I think I kind of toned it down a bit. Like I worked in business development as well, so I was like going down to London every other week. So I really tried hard, because the first few times I went down, they were looking at me like I should have had a flat cap on. So after that, I really tried to tone it down, so that I wasn't just able to speak to people, from the north kind of thing. So yeah, it's a little bit different to that. So yeah, that is a day in the life of a PPC manager and what a PPC manager does. So the most important thing from our point of view as a PPC manager is the client relationship, making sure you nail the research, making sure that we understand what they're offering, why they're offering it, and the solution. Then it's the building of the campaign, taking your time, not rushing it, making sure you get all those little settings done correctly. Ad schedule as well. If you're a B2B company and there's no one in the office, there's no point having your ads on at the weekend if you're waiting for anyone to phone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just turn those off, save yourself some money. All those little things, and then the conversion tracking as well, and then monitoring it, tweaking it, updating it, and all the tools you can use as well. Like there's lots of tools out there. If you're doing it yourself, you can do a free account on SpyFu that gives you limited but decent information. I think you can use a free one in SEMrush for so many searches.
A certain amount of days, I think, or something like that as well.
Google Keyword Planner, but the best one that you'll need is Google Ads Editor.
Yeah.
That just makes working in the accounts, and it makes your life so much easier if you're working across things like multiple accounts. So yeah.
Yeah, and we this PPC one, we've tailored this to paid search. Obviously, we know that we're going to touch on paid social because it's similar principle, different tools, different approach. Yeah, well, it is all different, to be honest with you.
We were going to do the paid social one next, but we're probably going to have to do the responsive search ads next.
First,
So we'll do the responsive search ads, and then we'll jump into paid social, because paid social is huge at the minute.
Yeah.
So we'll do that one next.
Sounds good.
But I think that's it. So if you managed to get to this far, thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
I've been Chris, and I'll be on the next one.
Yeah, and I'm Christian. I'll be there too.
Thank you very much.
See you later, guys. Thank you.